It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are, or good evening, potentially, depending on where you are in the world. This is rAVe TV, our weekly TV show that comes to you live noon Eastern time, which is where we're located, 9 a.m. West Coast time, and it happens to be 6 p.m. in the most of Europe. And we have a guest that's going to pop on with us in a little bit, Laurent Meja from Netgear. This is Gary K, and I am joined with
Steph Beckett. How's it going, Gary?
Hey, we're having a little bit of audio issues with Steph, as you can probably hear over there. So she's still going to help drive this broadcast today, but we're going to try to figure out the audio issues so that we won't have that again. But hey, this is a live show. It's what happens when you have a live show. It is 12:05 a.m. or p.m., I should say, in the East Coast. This is our weekly TV show, and we usually try to talk about amazing things going on in the industry and how excited we are about all the things. And we have some great news today, but unfortunately, we have to open up the broadcast with some really sad news. A great friend of mine and a great friend of many of you, maybe thousands of you in the industry, Lynn Dozier, passed away this past weekend. Many of you know he's founded Premier Mounts, but also Progressive before Premier Mounts. He has an amazing story, and it's always sad when you know somebody so personally that passes away. You know, you sometimes expect it, sometimes you're not. But he's one of those guys that gave hundreds of people, maybe even thousands. I obviously haven't counted, but definitely hundreds of people jobs, got him into the industry, and he's going to be missed. I know his daughter Tiffany, who's watching right now, is going to miss him. His family's going to miss him, but we as an industry are going to miss him because he's an icon. I mean, he basically helped invent the mount side of the industry, how to mount monitors and projectors in systems. And unfortunately, life isn't forever. And the saddest part about this is that he just retired. And in fact, I was fortunate enough last year, in March of last year, to do his retirement interview as part of my Rants and Raves video cast last March, literally the last day of him being an employee, quote unquote, at Premier Mount. So I'd love to play a clip from that because I want to encourage you to go watch it. And if you're watching us live, we're going to post the link to that full interview. It's about an hour long, but it's not just about him starting Premier Mounts. It's about his life in the industry and the impact he had in the industry. So I'd love for you to watch the first minute or two of this. So let's roll that. Hey everyone, this is Gary K, and I have a very special guest today. We're going to do a long conversation with a really good friend of mine and a friend of all of yours in the industry, Lynn Dozier. Lynn, you know Lynn for Premier Mounts, but you may have known him for other things as well. I remember this company called Progressive, and I remember some other stuff in there as well. But we're going to kind of do a historical look at the industry because he's been in the industry a long time. He's retired. As you know, Premier just sold to Gamber Johnson. We'll talk about that as well. But first off, Lynn, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I want to go back to first off, congratulations on having a plan to retire from this industry. A lot of people don't get an opportunity to have a plan and make a plan, and you built a company into something that was a sellable entity, and you've sold it to a great company in Gamber Johnson, and they're going to be great stewards of the Premier brand, I'm quite sure, in the product line. So congratulations on that. And I'm sure that must be a big relief.
It was my time. It's been a great ride for me. I actually started in 1966. So that's 54 years. So it's been a good run.
So in 1966, what was AV in 1966? Like, what were you doing in 1966?
Well, in the earlier part of 66, I was a maintenance electrician for a plastics manufacturer here in Southern California. And they were going on strike. And a buddy of mine who I met during my service days up in Montana had gone to work for a radio station in Garden Grove, California called KTBT Radio. And they also had the first Sony franchise for videotape equipment in those days. That was called Tel Audio Center. And that's where I got my start. I went to work there.
I'll tell you, we're all going to miss his voice. He has a very distinctive voice, a voice that you remember. He had a booming personality, always positive. Loved wearing those Hawaiian style shirts all the time whenever he was not in a trade show, sometimes even in a trade show booth. But he was a mentor to many of us, including me. He was always very encouraging, Steph, of all the things that I wanted to try and do. And he's just a great guy, and I'm really going to miss him. Tiffany, my heart goes out to you and your family. I know you're dealing with a lot right now, but I want to say thank you to you and your entire family for loaning Lynn to our industry for 54 years. So thanks, Steph, for letting me open up with that.
Yeah, of course.
So signage fail. You want to talk about that real quick, Steph?
Yeah, if you guys can hear me, all right. So this is a thing I found on Twitter, which I thought was so funny. It's signage in Raleigh, and it talks about, Raleigh, the city of oaks. But if you look at that city line, that's the Charlotte city line, baby. That's not Raleigh. So I don't know. If you're doing public signage somewhere, maybe look that up. Is my advice to all of you out there. So that I'm
sure that's not the only time that kind of thing happens. And speaking of signage, we want to remind you to sign up for the Digital Signage Experience, now the DSE show, now called the Digital Signage Experience. The DSE show registration is on our website at ravepubs.com. We're popping the registration link in here. You can actually register using our code. Steph, what is our code again? Isn't it rAVe Gift?
Yeah,
RAVEGIFT?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep, so rAVe Gift. And that show's going to be in November. They're going to move the show permanently to the fall, so I think that's going to be a great thing. I don't know if they've officially announced that or not, but in any case, let's see what else. I wrote an article about that's on the website. If we could pop that up here now, about why you should consider selling office furniture. I kind of justified why our integration companies should get into the furniture industry, because a lot of the design of offices is all being dependent, and has historically been dependent on the furniture industry, because they have the tools to sort of lay out office spaces. But the truth of the matter is office spaces are changing. And the reason why I think this is a great time to get into that segment of the business is pretty easy. It's pretty simple. And that is, every company is going to change the way they build space right now. So what was cubicle land is going to be switched up to something else. They're no longer going to have that kind of environment where you have your own cubicle and you come in, work in your own space. The spaces are going to be much more flexible, and we're going to have spaces where some people are working in them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, others on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then the Fridays are a free-for-all. We're going to have spaces where people are working on, coming in the office on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but the space is used for something else on Mondays and Fridays. There's going to be a redesign of every office in the world. It's all not going to be based on upgrade cycles. It's going to be, hey, we now have a whole different kind of workflow mentality. We have different people coming to the office. That we have a different process for bringing people to the office. And, the funny thing is, and I'm going to close with this, and I hope that you'll read my article. It's on ravepubs.com right now. It is actually a blog that I wrote. The interesting thing is, the furniture companies are wooing AV companies. They want technology companies to sell their products because they see the need for integrating technology more seamlessly into their products. I actually had an interview with one of the VPs at what was called Herman Miller, now called Miller Knoll, as part of my series with Barco and the ClickShare series podcast that we did. And he was very enlightening about how much business there is right now in the hardware side of furniture business in reconfiguring offices. He was saying that, their business is up 50% over prior to the pandemic. Steph, what's happening is that, just like we're having in our own office, we used to have desks for everybody. Now some people just don't come in the offices, and we don't actually assign them desks, and they work wherever a space is open.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I don't know what the future is going to hold with that. I think it's hard to tell.
Totally. I mean, I'm going to count on our integration companies to tell us and to fill us in as it happens in real time. Hey, we've got an ad from one of our sponsors popping in here. Shure and Legrand are our two big sponsors of rAVe TV, have been since the very beginning. and I want you to check this out from Shure.
Hi, I'm Chris Lyons with Shure. When I'm on a conference call, I devote my full attention to whatever is being discussed. Okay, that's not true. I normally am multitasking, and I often forget to mute my microphone. Yes, I'm that guy. Fortunately, IntelliMix Room DSP software has a feature that is designed to deal with people like me. It's called the AI denoiser, and it gets rid of common random room noises that can easily disrupt your meeting audio. I really don't know how it works. I think we reverse the polarity of the phantom power or something like that, or maybe it's digital. I don't know. But the point is, it works. Now, if I'm in a meeting, I like to click my pen. It kind of helps me think. So if I start clicking my pen, it might be disruptive and heard by the people on the other end of the call. But the denoiser knows how to take out the clicking of the pen and not disturb my voice. I like to look smart during a meeting, so I type on my keyboard a lot. People think that I'm taking notes or sending an important email, but I'm really not. Here's my pro tip for looking more productive. If you have one of those keyboards that's really quiet, doesn't make much noise, just type extra loud so it draws more attention to it. Now, of course, the denoiser can tell the difference between the keyboard clicking and the sound of my voice. So it gets rid of the keyboard, but it leaves my speech where it should be. Send. Probably the most annoying thing I do during meetings is eat. Now, I like meetings where they bring in pizza, but I try to keep some snacks around my desk just in case that there's a meeting that runs long and they don't have any food. And so, fortunately, with the denoiser on, it takes care of all that noise, and I don't have to worry about crunching chips or cookies or anything else. Sometimes it's actually pretty difficult to get these bags open. You would think they make them easier. But once I've got a snack ready, then I can go 2, 3, 4 hour meeting, no problem. The denoiser is included with IntelliMix Room DSP software. If you're already using IntelliMix Room, just upgrade to the latest version and you'll have it. And then you don't have to worry about being that person.
All right, so I'm excited to be joined with Laurent Meja. And Laurent, thanks for staying awake. It's like 6 p.m. there in Europe. This is past your bedtime, isn't it?
Hey, Gary, come on. Thank you. Thank you so much for having Netgear and you and Steph on rAVe TV.
Well, I appreciate you being here. You and I have had a relationship now ever since Netgear got in the industry probably 5 years ago. I want to thank Netgear. I want to thank you and your team for doing what you've done, because of all the networking companies, and there's a lot out there, Cisco, D-Link, I don't think Linksys is now part of Cisco, Arista. Of those companies that are out there, you're the only one that's focused exclusively on the Pro AV market, that has a division focused exclusively on the Pro AV. And you're willing to, and by the way, this is not an ad. I asked Laurent to join because I want to make sure that people know that they have this service. You actually have a service where you'll help integrators design systems for them. You'll design Pro AV systems, AV over IP for them, and hand off the design for them to give to their customers, won't you?
Yes, absolutely. Because we started like everybody else on the market, as you said, many, many years ago. We were an IT vendor, but we realized how difficult it is to do AV over IP, especially when you know that AV over IP fabric is the network. So if the network is no good, the whole AV is ruined. So yes, we understood that, and we said, unlike anybody else, I believe, in this industry, we said we should be more committed than that. And what we've done is that we we said our goal was to help, to facilitate this transition away from traditional AV HD-based matrix switchers or point-to-point distribution with good network switchers. But then we said that after the hardware and the software, service and support were critical, because there is a fear right at the beginning for any system integrator, for any installer. The first time, it's horrible, right? Moving away from something you were doing for years to a new IP-based system. So we have a full team of very good AV/IT professionals helping out, not only for the design, Gary, but also for any question during the commissioning, the installation, even troubleshooting. And I believe this is even more important than switchers themselves. Yeah.
So there were over 60 companies at InfoComm 2022. Steph tells me that had Netgear products in them, and I think that's a testament to what you've done. You're not tied to one platform. Your switches your switches routing all the networking gear you have will work with SDVoE, with IPMX, will work with Extron Nav, will work with Crestron NVX. You don't really care. You're AV over IP agnostic, and you have the bandwidth to handle all of it.
Right. We do care, Gary, though. But what we understood is that this industry as a whole needs standards, right? And of course, it's a little bit the wild, wild west still. Of course, SDVoE, AMS with the IPMX are good examples, of some kind of standardization, but still, there is hundreds of different types of endpoints or codecs, video and audio, you named it. And we believe strongly into certification. So we do care, because one by one, we reached up to the 200 certification processes with all these great companies. And we told them, the goal. What is the goal, Gary? The goal is that the number of phone calls into your tech support organization is going down. Because when the network is no good, nothing works, even if you have the best solution out there. So we offered that to a new tech for NDI, NDI TV. We went to all those major companies, but not only the big ones, even the smaller ones. So I believe we just reached the 200s, and we have many more hundreds in the pipeline, because certification takes time. We need to get equipment. They need to get equipment. We do all the, we fix all bugs. We do bug fixing, that's what we do. And when it's certified, when it's approved, you're right. You go to the InfoComm, you see the powered by Netgear sign, but it's a commitment. And because this time, then the customers, even the consultants, they know that they can trust the solution as a solution. They can confidently go and install. And if there is a problem, because there will be sometimes problems, we'll fix it. Yeah.
So I have one last question for you, because I think you're in a critical position to answer this question, because you are touching 200 plus manufacturers, as you just said. When will we not have the fear of supply chain? Is this going to be something that's going to be fixed in the next 6 months, or is this going to drag on for longer?
Yeah, it's probably, so first of all, everything I'm going to say is under my sole responsibility. Netgear is a public company, so we cannot comment on future performance. You know the trick, right? So,
yeah.
But what I believe, and what most of us believe, in our business unit, and I will not leave here without saying proavdesign@netgear.com, proavdesign@netgear.com. This is how you reach out to us. We believe that it's going to drag up to the middle of next year, to be very frank, because we are fighting against a bunch of new applications, electric cars, right? They need a lot of ICs. It's not only the chipsets or the complicated, expensive, big CPUs. It's all those little power converters and ICs that, are going to many more places and applications. So the whole industry is fighting against that. It's getting better. It's going to be much better this second half this year. The whole industry is growing double digit as we speak, but we are going to be probably back to normal. If one day we could say that, we will be normal again, most likely in 1 year from now, after the summertime next year. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for all you've done for the industry. I'm a big fan of Netgear. I mean, like I said, this is not we didn't charge you for this spot. I wanted to bring you on to talk about what you're doing for the industry, because I think what you're doing needs to be recognized. And we're the only live TV show in our industry, and I thought it'd be important to bring you on. And you're in France right now, which is you're in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I would love to be in Montreux right now. Is where I'd love to be. And so I want to thank you for staying up and joining us, and thanks for all you do again.
Hey, Gary, thank you. And I want to personally thank you and rAVe as a whole, because you helped us tremendously to get to those manufacturers, to get attention and not preach into the desert. So everything we've done that thanking rAVe organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Steph, we got a second sponsor. We have Legrand. They've got a message, don't they?
Yes, they sure do. Let's roll that now. All right. Yeah, Gary, tell me a little bit about Barco's latest report on how 2022 sales, they're way ahead of 2019's numbers.
Yeah, I wouldn't say way, but they are definitely ahead of 2019. The reason why this matters is there aren't very many, as you know, Steph, there aren't very many public companies in our industry, so we don't often get an opportunity to know how companies are doing. Of course, everyone says we're doing great. But we're all a little nervous about the economy. We're nervous about supply chain. We're nervous about sort of coming back to normal. But Barco, the fact that Barco in 2022, the first half of 2022, is ahead of 2019 means that the industry is not as bad a shape as everyone possibly thinks. They're a bellwether. They're one of those companies that have been in our industry a long time. They're $1 billion company. So I posted an article. I went through and read through the financials. I even contacted the CFO because I wanted to make sure one little number I wanted to verify, because they were talking about their sales numbers being in 2022 ahead of 2019. And I said, is that orders taken or is that orders already shipped? And he responded, that's orders already shipped. So that's even better. It's not just orders taken. So that means supply chain hasn't affected that. And I appreciate you allowing me to share that.
Yeah, of course. And so the other thing we wanted to talk about was Sarah Abrams recently wrote an article, right? And this is part one. So there's going to be a part two, but she wrote all about what she learned about the industry because she watched 2,000 of our product videos between ISC and Infocom. So that's quite a few product videos to get to watch.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. We won't go into the detail because that's some of our secret sauce behind the scenes. Sure. But she did watch 2,000 videos, and what she did was she wrapped that into what you ended up turning into a two-part or possibly three-part series because of how long it was. But basically, she's pointing out some trends that she noticed. She's pointing out some things that you should notice, and she's also pointing out some new products and technologies that you should take note of that you may have overlooked because you're focused on the big brands. So this article is awesome. It's integrated, as you can see, with a bunch of video embeds in it, and there's an opportunity for you to use this as a guide for, hey, these are the most important things I saw at Infocom. And by the way, we intentionally did not tell Sarah who the sponsors were or any of those kinds of details with regard to writing this. So she focused organically on what did I see that I think is important here. And I think that's what's really important. And I think cross your fingers, I think we're going to convince her to come on to rAVe TV next week. Steph, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to keep working on her. She's elusive. She doesn't like to be in front of the camera like you and I do. But I think that if I twist her arm enough, she'll come on.
Yeah, and we only have a couple more minutes, but there's a couple articles I want to point out. One is yesterday I wrote up a piece about LG working with Marriott's design lab, and Marriott started a design lab for what the hotel room of the future would be. And I'll give you an example of that. Steph, you know how when you walk in, you look around for a place to put your suitcase, and we all put it on top of the couch or on top of the chair because there's never a space to put it, right? And if there is a space, it'll be like next to the TV. Well, Marriott's Design Lab is the reason why when you walk into a Marriott, there's always a place to put your suitcase, because they realized that people were doing that, which was wearing down the furniture, which was wearing down the chair, and which was scratching the furniture. So it's little things like that. Well, this design lab is now looking at, well, how should we change entertainment? Because, by the way, none of us are turning on the TV in our hotel room and pressing the channel button. None of us. In fact, what I do is if the TV can't be streamed to, I'll go around the back and disconnect the HDMI cable, plug it into my device, and watch TV that way. And I'm not alone. All of us are doing that. So LG is looking at how do we redesign the entertainment pieces with Marriott and come up with a better entertainment space inside a hotel room. So.
Yeah, no, the people who have like Netflix integrated into hotel TVs so you can just like log in with your Netflix are doing the Lord's work.
Praise. All right, last story. BenQ got into the UCC market last year. They come out with a new set of cameras. They're covered on ravepubs.com. You can see all these stories that we covered today on ravepubs.com. Yep. If you've been watching this live on LinkedIn, you've been watching us live on any of the other platforms, because we come to you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, but we also broadcast live on ravepubs.com and on youtube.com/ravepubs. All of those platforms, most of them we're posting the links for all of these, but of course you can always find all the links at ravepubs.com. Steph, we're going to fix that microphone, but even though we didn't get to hear your voice very much, and by the way, they'd much rather hear your voice than mine. It's always an honor to do this with you.
They've heard me enough. Next week will be better. It'll be fine. We'll fix it.
All right. Y'all take care. Have a good day.
Bye.
It's the weekly show about ProAV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV.